What's up, everybody? It's your favorite FPL YouTubers back again after a 2-month hiatus. We finally have meaning back in our lives since the game launched, and we are both probably 10 drafts deep at this point, but that naturally happens at this time of year. We've got a lot of exciting new things coming on the channel, and Evan will get into that, but I'm Jarrett.
I'm Evan.
And this is How to FPL.
So yeah, echoing everything Jarrett said, I'm excited to be back and definitely got a few drafts already and looking forward to see how this season shapes up. We do have some great channel updates for you guys this season. We've got a fresh new logo. I think it looks really clean and really nice, and we both agree it looks a lot better than our last one. In addition, we're going to start doing a subscribers league for How to FPL. So if you want to be a part of our community, just join with the code that's on the screen there. It's going to be a good time. And last of all, we're just going to have a lot more videos for you guys coming. We've got some big things in store, some good preseason content, and obviously we're going to be coming to you with regular videos throughout the season. So without further ado, let's get into what you've been waiting for, which is our preseason drafts.
Yeah. So I'll start with my first draft. I call this one Super Strikers, and you will soon find out why. To start out looking at this draft, I have Ederson in goal. I think that given his reduced price this year, he could genuinely be seen as almost an extra city defender that you could have in your team for only 5.5 mil. Man City get clean sheets in more than half of their games. I wouldn't expect that to really change too much for this season, so that could be a real bargain for just 5.5 mil. He doesn't make very many saves, which is obviously a downside, but especially if you're thinking about wildcarding around game week 8 or 9, I think that it could be a really good move to have Ederson for the first 8 game weeks or so, and then figure out who is that hot, cheaper goalkeeper option that you could pick up on your wildcard. Moving on, I have both Liverpool wingbacks in this starting 11 here. I think that is probably the play this season. Everyone's going to want to have 3 Liverpool players, and their wingbacks just provide so much value that I think it would be unwise to go without them. And then I've just got Johnny and Justin in there right now. Those could be any 4.5 mil defenders. They're just the ones that I have in there right now. But obviously, no Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea, or Newcastle defense here. So that would be the weakness with the defense. And then in this particular draft, I've gone for 3 midfielders right around the 8 million price point, which I think is probably a really valuable price point for midfielders, just because looking through all the prices, it seems like there are a number of genuinely very good options that you could swap to at different points in the season. These aren't necessarily the ones that I would settle on, but I think they all have good potential and pretty good fixtures. Obvious con of this draft, then, is that I'm really lacking a premium mid. There's no Salah, no Son, no Bruno Fernandes. But we'll see why this draft is named Super Strikers. Because I have Haaland, Jesus, and Kane. The best strikers you could have, except for maybe Vardy. So, I think that the reasoning behind this draft would be that, the strikers could provide, the expensive strikers could provide a lot of value, whereas cheaper strikers don't provide as much value, in my opinion. And then some, cheaper midfielders and defenders can still provide a lot of value, even when the expensive midfielders and defenders are providing value. I think that potentially going decently big up top, maybe not as big as this draft, could provide a lot of value. And then the bench is pretty much the bare minimum. But any thoughts on this draft, Evan?
Yeah, I completely agree with you about that point about the cheap forwards versus cheap mids and defenders. And I think it also really helps you that, well, just the fact that you don't have Salah in this draft, obviously he's someone that's nice to have. But on that note, you don't even have to worry about going for your, three. A lot of people are trying big up top with a Salah, and then they have to go three 4.5 mids and something like a 5-2-3, which is just an absurd formation. So I think that not having him allows you to spread those funds out much more nicely, despite being big up top.
Yeah,
Other than
definitely.
that, yeah, I think that looks a fine, absolutely fine draft. Probably one of the best ones you're going to see that doesn't have Salah. I'm preferential to having him, but I think that that's the beautiful thing about this season is you're going to have a lot of people that are going both directions. So it'll be interesting to see how
Yeah.
that plays out.
I'm starting to come around to it too, but we'll see if my resolve holds.
Yeah,
Here's another draft that I made. So you might recall that last season, before Ronaldo came to United, Bruno Fernandes was a very hot FPL asset. I believe he was the top scoring player from 2 seasons ago, and so everyone wanted to have him. And but a lot of people were making drafts called Brew No to not have him in their team. And so since I have him in this draft, I called it Bru-Yes. And this is basically the exact same draft as the last slide, except instead of Matters and Kane, I have Bruno and Vardy, which is interesting. I think I was looking at some statistics today, actually, that Vardy has like the highest or maybe second highest expected goals per 90 minutes played, which I think is a very interesting statistic. He was injured for a lot last season, though, which is a good thing to keep in mind. But he does usually start the season pretty hot, so I think he's being overlooked in a lot of drafts.
for
What do you
sure.
think?
And I think it's funny because when I saw your draft with Kane, my initial reaction, knowing that this one was coming, I love the look of Kane in a team, and I've been partial to your Kane draft over your Vardy and Fernandez draft. But after you saying that, and also just kind of thinking about Bruno and realistically, if he's going to be playing in his role that he was 2 years ago within a Ronaldo-less team, like for 10 mil, that's a pretty good deal.
It could be a bargain.
So it could be. So I actually think the Fernandez Vardy combo could be your better option out of those two when I start thinking about it. So
We shall see.
we'll
Let's get
see.
into your drafts.
So yeah, this is my first draft. This I consider a very template draft. The thing about it that's not template we'll get to in a second. But for now, I have Raya in goal. I think that he has good fixtures, and Brentford look like a solid team this year. And I'm happy to spend 4.5 on my keeper and 4 mil on the other one, and save the funds for the rest of my team. I agree with you completely that Trent and Robbo are locks in my team pretty much. I've I've considered. You'll see my second draft actually doesn't have Robbo, but upon pondering it a little more, I it's really scary to go without him because I do think that those two defenders will be the best two defenders in the game. I also am going with Cancelo for similar reasons. I just think that he's going to be a very high value pick this year. Obviously, can completely cover the clean sheet points. I do think he'll get assist points, but it's really just a question of where you're valuing, like spreading your funds in your team. I don't think it makes a huge difference. And then I just really like the looks of Trippier, and then Tomiyasu is just kind of in there. I'm still questioning about him. I might even downgrade him to Neco Williams, so we'll see. Yep, and then I'm going with Salah this year. We kind of talked about it a little bit already, but I just can't pass up being able to captain him against Fulham and hopefully in the first few game weeks of the season. And I feel like I've managed to fit a decent amount of good players in with him. I have Mahrez there. He can really be a stand-in for any 8.0. I'm thinking about Mount. I'm thinking about Saka. I'm thinking about a bunch of different people. And then Rashford is obviously super dependent on whether he's starting.
Yeah, I think Rashford is starting to be a more popular pick on FPL Twitter because a video from Manchester United training like yesterday or maybe 2 days ago came out where he scored a header in practice. So now
man.
all of a sudden he's a hot topic.
Oh, yeah, that's going to change a lot right there, that video. But yeah, and then it's funny, I have Kane and Jesus, but all that said, I've actually switched Kane to Holland in my most recent draft of this team. And I've gone back and forth on Kane and Holland for a while. But at the moment, Holland is just edging it out for me because of longer term fixtures and just kind of seeming value. But again, it's another wait and see. So I'm excited to. This is probably similar to the team that I'll end up going into the season. So, any thoughts, Jarrett?
Yeah, I think the Kane versus Son debate that you said you're having is one that a lot of people are having right now, and I think it's probably going to go right up to the deadline for most people. But
Absolutely.
overall, I mean, it's obviously you're going to have a good captaincy rotation with this draft between either Kane and Salah or Holland and Salah. But I think it's a very strong squad. I'm personally not inclined to the 5 at the back strategy, but I think that this is a very good 5 at the back draft.
And then we could get on to my second one, which is in fact a Threemium, and I did have to sacrifice Robertson, which is what's really putting me off of this draft, among other reasons. But yeah, other than that, we can just get into the hot spot of this team, which is that I've squeezed in Son Heung-min into my squad seemingly out of nowhere. I essentially downgraded Robertson to Neco Williams and upgraded Mahrez to Son, and then I had to downgrade Rashford to Neto to complete that that sort of trifecta, which we have of Salah, Son, and Haaland. It feels really good to have all of those people in my team because I get a lot of FOMO when it comes to FPL. But that being said, there are obviously huge issues with this team. For one thing, I'm starting Andreas Pereira, and I just have an absolutely... My bench is like stretched thinner than spandex on Miami Beach, in the words of Ray Hudson. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Jarrett?
I don't think this is as bad of a team as you're making it out to be honest. I don't think I'm super inclined to go for a Threemium draft just because, I feel like with premiums, right, you really want to be captaining those players in order to get the maximum amount of points out of them. And you probably only need, 2 premiums to be able to rotate a captaincy pretty effectively. So you probably could spread those funds, a little bit better throughout the team. But as far as a Threemium draft goes, I think this looks really good, to be honest.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree about the captaincy. I saw that Son and Salah, like Spurs and Liverpool, both rotate well for captaincy, as do City and Liverpool. Not so sure about Spurs and City, but
I don't think so.
Probably not. But yeah, anyway, probably not going to end up being my team coming into the season, but it's fun to tinker with this stuff. So I think that's about it for my drafts.
Yeah. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure to like, subscribe, maybe leave a comment. We will absolutely reply to that. And then go check us out on Twitter and Instagram at @how_to_FPL.
For sure. Thanks again, guys. We're excited to get into a fun new season. So, good night.
Bye.